Hi, Candice.
Hello, Rosemary. It's so lovely to be here and to see you again.
Yes, it's so good to see you. And it's so, yeah, I'm so happy that you said, okay, yes, let's do this little interview. And I invited you because I want to talk about the joy of consciousness with you. So let me ask you some, maybe you want to say 1 to 3 words to yourself, and then we can start talking about the joy of consciousness.
So, thank you so much for asking me. It's such an honor and a privilege to not only talk about joy, but also consciousness. The two can go hand in hand if you choose if you choose joy. Um, and what a beautiful way to share it. So, thank you. It's now spring in South Africa, and the energy of joy is starting to seed and grow. And beautiful, perfect time to chat about that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so that means it's joy of consciousness is something like opening up, like in spring, everything is opening up.
Definitely, because I mean, when you are stressed or sad, there isn't an expansion in that. And yes, you can find joy in the stress and the sadness, of course. And I think that's where every, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory comes in, because we always say, we do our mantra every day, and we say all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And I think for me in the beginning, it was all about rainbows and unicorns, and visualizing all of my life coming to me with ease and joy and glory. But it's more about going into the shadow and going into the stress and the sadness and finding the joy in that. Because once you can do that, your whole world will expand, and the sadness and the stress will start to dissipate, because joy is such a powerful emotion, and it is very expansive and uplifting. And we really are able to find joy in so many things. But again, it's all up to choosing that and wanting to do that.
Oh, that's really awesome to find the joy in everything. And then nothing can stop you. So
Yeah.
everywhere when you go into the how did you say? So when you are,
Action.
yes, exactly, and when you find the joy in it, it cannot like this. It has to become
Yeah.
great.
I
That's
spend
beautiful.
I spend a lot of time alone. It's one of the reasons why I moved to the country, so that I could have that alone time. And it's easy to go into depression or shadows, or the role that I play within what I'm doing is looking at a lot of problems and having to find solution for the problems. It's not a role that I actually wanted to be in, but it's where I'm at. And it's very easy to get consumed by those problems, because we have to find solutions for them. But if you just find the joy in everything and even the problems, it's what I've had to learn to do, is just look at a situation and find the joy or the happiness or the positive space within that. Because otherwise it can be all too consuming. And we know in Access, when we talk about problem solving, when you're good at problem solving, you create more problems in your life so that you can solve them. And I'm choosing differently. Although I find myself in a position of problem solving, I definitely would like to do something else, create more space for people. So it's taught me to try and find the joy in everything that I'm doing. Even on the days that I get really down, it's like, okay, what is this? What can I do with it? Where does it come from? And, if you just ask those questions, you will be able to find the joy in everything.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's awesome. This is why why it's everybody has his own. No, there are the tools from Access, and even you know more Access. These are tools which you can use and everybody took something else out of it and find his own way, which is working for. So like you said, yeah, so when you find everything the joy, then it's yeah.
Another beautiful thing that I've experienced this year, and obviously from practicing access, one of the things that we always hear about is you can use the tools to a certain degree, but then there comes a time where you have to start being the tools, because otherwise tools can become a crutch. So you can always use them for everything, but until you actually become them, it's a different story. And I never really grasped that concept until when I was in Egypt, and I had a beautiful experience. I was in a place that I'd been there before, and I didn't have a good time there. There was a lot of animal cruelty with the horses and the carriages that take you to the specific temple that we went to. And the last time that I went, I allowed those experiences to contract me and put me in a bad headspace. And when I got to the temple, it really intensified the negativity that I was feeling. And I never really understood why I had such a bad time that day. And when I got there the second time, I knew what to expect. So when I was already standing, waiting to go on the carriages, I started pulling energy through the earth, through my body, through my head. I started really working with the tools, because when I was in Egypt before, I didn't know access. And while I was doing all of that, I observed everybody around me going into the fear. And I tried to get them to come on the same journey with me. I said, we are here to uplift the space. We're not here to get sucked into the story of the cruelty. We are here to bring light and love to the situation. And it's all fine and well saying something like that, but actually being it and doing it, which was what I was doing, was such an incredible experience. So I also realized in that moment that my choice that day was to be the energy of love and expansion and gratitude for all of the people that had chosen their roles in that story. And the people that I'd spoken to kind of got what I was saying, and they felt into the energy. And it was interesting to see how some of them chose to expand and come on the journey with me. And a lot of them chose to go back into that story because they wanted to feel justified in crying about the cruelty to the animals. So it was really interesting to see all of that. And I realized on that day that I was completely being the energy, because when it was my turn to get the horse in the carriage, nobody was fighting in front of me because it was quite aggressive and violent. The path opened up very clearly for my husband and I to walk towards our carriage and horse, and people were pulling and freaking out. And my experience was so wonderful. And as I was walking towards my horse, I was saying, what are the possibilities? I've got a happy horse. What are the possibilities I'm going to have a healthy horse? And I saw my horse, and the coat was shining. And it was just so wonderful to see what I'd created in such a short space of time through my awareness and tapping into the energy. And while I was on the horse and carriage, I started working with the horse, and I said, right, we're going to give love and energy and gratitude to all of the horses and all of the people that have chosen to be here for us on this day. And the horse and I were working so beautifully together that we had so much energy and love to give that we took it throughout the whole world. And by the time I got to the temple, I was in such an incredible space that the temple intensified all of that joy and happiness. And I ended up having the most incredible time compared to the last time. And it was just such an incredible experience, because there I really felt what being the tools was all about. And we had an event not so long ago, and I was pulling energy, as we do. We pull energy through all the people that were coming to the event, pull energy through the events. And when I got there, the lady that was organizing it was all stressed out, and she was like, they didn't organize the projector, and this is wrong, and that is wrong. And I was in such a relaxed state of mind that it did not affect me at all. I said, okay, well, that's fine. We'll just make a plan to do something else. It's not a problem. And she couldn't believe how relaxed I was. And then I couldn't believe how relaxed I was, because normally something like that for a control freak like me would have completely stressed me out. I would have gone into her story and her world. But instead, the opposite happened, and she relaxed and she started breathing and started thinking that everything was going to be okay. And again, after that, I asked myself, what was that all about? How was I so relaxed? And I realized again, there I was being the tools without even trying. So it really is amazing to choose the right things for you. And not in a space of right and wrong. It's just in a space of positivity, gratitude, and just leaving alone the distractor implants and all those projections and expectations that everybody puts onto you.
Yes. And is it being the tools, or is it also being you?
Yeah, totally. And I think the tools allow us to get to a space of being unapologetically us, which is so beautiful. I mean, how does it get better than that?
Yes. So because when we are, yes, being the tools is awesome, but not making the tools. A lot of people, me too, did it a long time that I made access and the tools greater than me.
Yeah.
And it's never sought for that. Not from Gary, not from Dane. So, and it's all, everything is about being ourselves and not being something what somebody told us to be. And then you can have the experience of this joy. Like you told us, it's so beautiful that you share this with us, with me, and with us, with the people who will see this in the future. And because there is also this choice, you choose something else, and you have another experience than the other people. So awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. And also that it shows the joy of consciousness. Really, really, really this, that you can have another experience, another reality than everybody around you. And then it will affect the other as well, because if they choose it, to see it, to receive from it, yes. That's very, very beautiful. Thank you.
Pleasure. There was something else that I wanted to talk about now, but I lost the energy. Being. I had a very difficult time with that word and with what it meant, being. Being means that you're not doing. And who am I if I'm not doing anything? Because in this world, in this society, if you're not doing anything, if you're not accomplishing anything, then what are you? And it's just so beautiful when you get to a place and you realize that just you being you, even if you go to someone's dinner and they've invited you, if you just sit there and push out positive energy, you don't have to say anything. Your presence alone, just being there, is more than enough. You don't have to go somewhere and do anything. And that was a big realization for me, because I really thought all my life I have to do something, no matter what it is, even running bars. I have to be the one doing something. No, it's not about that at all. It's getting into a relaxed state of being so that the energy can flow through you, and so that your client is actually doing the work by being them.
Yes, there comes an example to my mind where I was invited, and I was sitting there, and I did not know what I'm talking about with the people around me, but I had this awareness I had to sit there. And that time I was not aware like now. And so I was sitting there up to that moment when I was talking to somebody, and somebody did understand something what I was saying. So, but And then I decided, okay, now I can go. Somebody received something. What an and later I understand, okay, I can be the energy. I can talk about weather. I can talk about, I'm just the energy of joy, happiness, and just being the energy, what is, yeah, just being what I am, and nothing else is required.
Yeah. And I had a wonderful conversation with Petra a few months back. And she also gave me such a beautiful aha moment, because she said that, she was chatting to somebody else and they were asking her, are you doing access? How many classes are you doing? What are you doing? And she said, I am practicing being and seeing if the money shows up anyway. And I was like, I love that. I'm going to be doing the same. I'm going to practice being and seeing if the money shows up anyway. So I just love that. I'm busy practicing it now. But it's a challenge because all of the fears come up because you're not doing anything. So it's very, very interesting. And again, if you're doing, how can you receive anything? If you're constantly in an energy of doing, never going to be able to receive anything. So even though if we think we're open to receiving, if we're in a doing mindset, we're not really open to receiving. There's going to be a block there at some level or another.
Yes, and just about being the energy of what you really desire, even if you don't know how it looks. Just being the energy of the life that you desire, which you know it's possible, but you never think that it's possible for you.
That's so true. And that reminds me, the other night, we all want to help people. It's one of the main reasons that a lot of us are here, so we can help humanity. But we also have to have boundaries, and that's something that I never really got. And the other night, somebody reached out and they asked me for financial help. And the first thing that I wanted to do was see how I could scratch money together to help them. And I thought, hold on now, the energy doesn't feel right here, because you're going into her story and now you're looking to rescue her. So how much are you actually going to help her? And then again, the question, what would my life be like in 5 years' time if I helped her? What would my life be like in 5 years' time if I didn't? And the energy was quite heavy when I asked about giving her money. So I thought, okay, well, what can I do? And I asked the question, what can I do? And it just came to me, you ask her questions. She might not know access, but you can still ask her the right questions. And I said to her, wouldn't it be wonderful? And what are the possibilities that you go to your boss tomorrow and ask him for an increase? And then don't get stuck in your head about the question and the fear of what he might say. Go into the energy of what it would feel like if he said yes. And if you asked for whatever amount of money that was, and he said yes, what would that feel like? And not only that, what would it feel like when you got the SMS from the bank to show you that that extra money is in your account? Like, visualize that, see that message. Now imagine logging into your bank account and seeing that new amount that you're getting. Your pay slip, you're going to visualize that pay slip. And I thought, for someone that's not used to access, to go into it in that way is getting her into the energy of already having received it. And it was just such a beautiful exercise for me, because I think if I hadn't had access and I wasn't able to slow myself down to have the awareness and to ask the right questions, I wouldn't have helped her at all. Yes, maybe financially for that month, but it would have made her want to ask me again the following month. She would have learned no lessons. She definitely wouldn't have felt empowered. She would have felt worse about herself because now she's getting a handout. So it was just so beautiful to do that exercise with her. And there was a little bit of negativity and resistance from her in the messages after, but I just kept at it. And by the end of it, she was really excited. And she said she was going to practice those. I said, just practice it every day for a month and then ask him. You never know. You'll never know until you ask. But it was just a really beautiful exercise for me as well, is like, don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in trying to help people in the way that we've been taught how to help people from the society, because you can help people by empowering them. You don't have to take a cent out of your pocket to do that.
Yes. And is this also joy of consciousness?
I had a lot of joy after that. Yeah. Because I was going into shame, blame, regret, guilt, all of that. And I was like, whoa, I can see what's happening here. Let's look for something that's going to give you joy. And that most definitely did.
Yes. And would you say, because a lot of people are in fear when they are becoming more aware that they have to lose something.
Yeah.
So what? So and also that they cannot go over something. So all that they I found all I pick all this stuff that people don't not go into this, or for me they don't understand what is the joy of consciousness. What is the joy of going over it? So, and now this example, what you said is already, okay, I understand something and I did something else and I have joy with that. And what else do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Whenever you're feeling stuck, you just need to ask questions. How did I get here? What happened? How can I move forward? Don't get stuck in the stuckness, because there is no such thing as that. That's just your imagination giving you the limitations. And I think when you become more aware, like you said, that means that you're aware of other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So I see that a lot within myself and within the team. It's like we take on so many other people's thoughts, fears, and emotions, and they're not even ours. So a lot of the time, the fear that you feel is not even your fear. It's just a construct of this reality that we're in. It's not real. And what is fear? It's false evidence appearing real. That's what it stands for in the English language, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. That means that most of the things that are put out there to make you fearful are not true.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all know, it doesn't matter how aware you are, we all know it's either a feeling you get in your tummy or something at the back of your spine. We all know what is good for us and what isn't at the end of the day. We all know. We can't deny that.
Yes. And is it even joyful to have allowance for all the people who know what is good for them from the point of consciousness where they are at that moment?
Totally. And also to have allowance for the fear. You know, I realized recently that when I was younger, my mom, literally, she would, when I was a very young child, when she made me porridge in the morning, she would put a smiley face on my porridge. And I realized all my life growing up, she would put a smiley face on that porridge. So whenever I was going through fear or anything and I'd reached out to her, she would always make me feel better. She wouldn't acknowledge what I was going through and sit and let me go through it. So in my life now, that's what I do for people. I always try to make them look at the bright side of life, which is great. It's a wonderful way to be, but we can't ignore what's coming up for us. We have to look at it. We have to look at the shadows. We have to look at what's making us uncomfortable. And then we can put a smiley face on that. So that was a big lesson for me as well, is and again, joy of consciousness fits this description perfectly, because if you're feeling sad and you've got that sadness coming up, go into it, explore it. Don't let it overtake your world, but you have to go into it. You can't just put a band-aid on it. So go into it, sit in the sadness, but then find the joy in that. Because after you've had a good cry, you can laugh very easily. But until you've had that good cry, it's going to be very difficult to laugh. So you've got to go into it. You can't look away from it. I mean, we wouldn't know good without bad. We wouldn't know light without dark. So it has to be there. But the secret is finding the joy in all of it because it exists in everything.
Thank you. This seems for me it's a good. This is good to stop here. Not to stop the energy, just let it flow and let it go everywhere. Just but it's from the words, it's
No, I love that. That was beautiful. And I love the fact that you don't have to prepare. It's like, okay, cool, this is what I want to do. We want to speak about conscious joy or joy of consciousness. And then there we go. We were able to find the joy in this beautiful Zoom with each other.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And even find where you want to talk about. So, and what's coming up and what will show up. And what we can receive from each other and what everybody can receive from this as well, who will see that.
Exactly.
Thank you, Candice.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so sorry it took so long, but obviously we needed to be here today, right now, together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you.
Have a beautiful day and lots of love. And yeah, keep in touch.
Yes. And yeah, everywhere where this video will show up, they can also find where you will, where they can find you.
Amazing. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank, Schatzi.
Danke dir. Thank you.